Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning into my video today. I'm going to be doing a quick presentation on the following 4 points. 1. My personal philosophy on education. 2. My perspective on why teachers should use technology in the classroom. 3. I'm going to be discussing my favorite ISTE standard. And fourth, I'm going to be discussing ways on what I'm going to be doing as an educator to make sure my students have access to technology. So I just suggest you sit back and watch and enjoy the video. Stay tuned. My philosophy of education is implanting the importance of mentorship to all my students. I set a high expectation for myself as a future educator to go beyond just teaching the classroom materials. I want to ensure that all my students are equipped with a strong mind to learn how to navigate life beyond school. I will assist my students in their daily lives by providing and ensuring they have access to resources and assistance in every facet of their lives while working within my boundary as an educator. As an educator, we must realize that we're more than teachers, but we are in the position to be and act as a counselor, a mentor, a parent figure, and we must utilize our platform to ensure our students are mentally prepared to overcome obstacles in their daily lives. As educators, we have a significant impact on our students, and our impact extends beyond that school year. Students will remember the interaction with their teacher throughout the education career and even into their adulthood. I value mentorship because it was a foundation that was created for me in my academic journey. And as an educator, it will be my turn to mentor my students, just how I had previous educators who mentored me. As we realize the advancement of technology and the increase of virtual learning, we as educators have to realize and understand the impact of technology it has on our students in and outside of the classroom. Technology provides teachers the flexibility and adaptability to their lesson plan and teaching styles. There are several advantages of technology, such as the option for students who needs extra help with their remedial courses, online school option, just in case a child has a scheduled conflict, and technology also provides another platform for students to receive supplemental work. Students also have the ability to have equal access to educational resources and platform that is designated in that specific geographic location. Teachers can also provide access to information for parents so parents can also increase their engagement in their student school performance. Technology is transforming the way that teaching is processed. It's now more interactive instead of instructor focus based. Now teaching is starting to evolve into more of a collective process.
My favorite ISTE standard, it has to be collaborator and designer. For collaboration, I really stress this to have my students work in groups. I know for a fact once I'm in the classroom, I'm going to have my students do a lot of collaboration group, especially taking into consideration that many students are learning virtually. I want to make sure I set my students up for success, whether starting with my class and throughout the academic journey. Something that we have to do just in general, whether students decide to continue their graduate degree, decide to go directly into their career, or they went on their own businesses. Regardless of what path the students decides to take, one of the critical things that they need to learn and need to know how to do is to work in teams, to work with one another. So especially taking into consideration that students are learning virtually, they're not interacting with their peers directly versus if they were in the classroom face to face. So I want to make sure I'm implementing group projects, activities, and assignments that can still have my students interact with their peers, still talk to them. I want my students to get comfortable and start to build that strong foundation to have them in a group where they know how to interact with one another, discuss their ideas, where they, even if they may disagree with one of their peers, they can disagree with their peers respectfully. They can also provide rebuttals. That is something I know for a fact I'm going to stress as a teacher, is to really make sure my students are really engaging in group activities. And this is also another way to ensure that my students know how to share resources, ideas, and solve problems together. The other standard I'm really fond of is the designer standard, and this is mostly because I favor it because of the learner variability. From my personal experience in the education, through my education background, I struggled throughout elementary, middle, high school, and even during my undergraduate years. And one of the reasons why I struggled because I still didn't have a complete or strong holding of my learning style. I didn't know how to retain the information. I didn't know the best way that my interprets the information and retain the information. So it took me all the way into my undergraduate years to actually take the time to study the way I learn and to understand how I learn and perceive the information that's being taught to me. So I want to ensure that I want to build that foundation for my students so they, at an early age, they understand and they know how they learn, whether that be whether it be visual learners or auditory learners or hands-on, or they need to write, or it can be a mixture of different learning styles. So, and with this being said, this also helps me as an educator because I can modify my lesson plans and I can also modify my teaching style to complement my students' learning style as well. So, and this is extremely important. This is really why I really favor the designer standard, because it allows me the flexibility to make sure I'm modifying my lesson plans, my teaching style to fit and to be molded into my students' learning style and how they retain the information. So when I know how a student learns, I can make sure that when I'm teaching the material, I can modify the way I'm teaching the material. As an educator, we do have standards. We do have standards that we have to follow and have the students prepared to take the exam and to pass standardized exams. Although I can't change the material that I'm required to teach in the classroom, however, I do have the ability to change the way I teach the material, and I do play a role in making sure how my students retain the information and receive the information. So that is why I really favor designer and in the collaborator standard as well. Even though technology is increasing, as educators, we still have to keep in mind that not every student may have access to technology, that there are going to be students who may not have a phone or a laptop, and even if in some cases they may have that, they may not have stable connection, Wi-Fi, or data. So we have to keep in mind that we have to be flexible and modify our lesson plans in order to fit the needs for our students. So one of the way we can ensure that the students that we're doing our part to ensure that our students have technology. One of the creative ways that I thought of is that we can go ahead and compile a list of resources in the community to help families and students to provide laptops for them. For example, you can write a list of the local libraries and provide the students and even the parents the address of the libraries, the hours of operation, so the student and parents can work together to see when would be the best time frame to go to the library, so the student has enough time to use the Wi-Fi that's there to submit their assignment and to do any of the schoolwork that's necessary. That is just one. That is just one option. Another option is also to provide additional resources where parents can go if they're looking to buy discounted laptops, or if there's additional resources in the community that are lending laptops out for students as well. So that's one thing as educators that we can do. We can compile a list of resources that we can direct students and parents to go to if they are in need of laptops and other additional resources if they may not have stable Wi-Fi connection at their homes. And something else we can do as educators is that we can advocate for our students and we can advocate for our schools. There are federal funded programs and programs from different companies such as Google who are taking the initiative to ensure that students and teachers in schools are being provided laptops, tablets, and stable Wi-Fi in order for the learning environment to still continue, but through virtually. So there's other programs as educators that we can look and see if our designated school may qualify for those programs that are out there. Another tip I will also suggest is that we still have to provide and make sure that we do have alternative assignments on handy as well. There may be a situation where a student is going to have a hard time getting a laptop or tablet or submitting the assignments electronically. So in extreme cases like that, what we can do as educators is still provide the assignments, but have the assignments in paper format and see if we can work along with the parents to see if the parents can pick up the assignments from the school and create a designated time frame to have the student turn in their assignment back to the school front office. In cases like that where the student may have to do the assignments in paper format, it'll be best to make sure you provide the student the assignments in advance to make sure the student have enough time to complete it and still have the ability to return it to the school front office, so they are able to get their assignments graded. So even though technology is increasing, technology is becoming more creative, very innovative, there are a lot of online resources to help teachers and students to increase their learning, to increase their learning engagement virtually. And while all these tools and resources are really cool and it's fun to have, and it really does bring more creativity in the classroom virtually, we still have to keep in mind that there are going to be some students, there are going to be some schools who may not have access to these technologies readily available. So we have to make sure that we keep in mind and that we are creating alternative lesson plans to help modify those students' needs.
All right, we reached the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you were able to obtain some important information and have some takeaway points that you can start implementing in your classroom as an educator yourself. That's all I have for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye now.